Hi, I am Maarten Visser of Flute Lab, and this video is about the consultation, the most important phase, I think, in adapting a woodwind instrument for a customer.
A customer has contacted you. What is next?
Well, the first thing is to establish what is needed, what are the needs, what are the objectives of the customer. Is there an instrument? Is there playing experience? What exactly will they need, or do they think they need? And from there on, you plan a meeting, you draw the agendas, and it's important the customer takes his instrument or her instrument that she already plays, the sheet music, and existing adaptations. I am talking about the customer and not about the patient, because we are not curing an illness. There is a misfit between the player and the instrument, and that is what this is about.
What does the session look like?
Okay, you meet and there's coffee and tea, and your customer will come in, often not alone. There might be a music teacher, a therapist, or a family member. Not too many, preferably not more than 3. The more people you are, the longer it will take, the whole meeting. So best to not make it too big. So before anything else, it's important to talk and to really know the needs of the customers. And I want to stress that the customer needs to be actively involved in the design process. Some of my customers have come up with the greatest ideas. And also people around the customers, because they often have a lot of experience in dealing with exact that disability, and that can be very useful. So that input is very valuable. The whole session will take around an hour, and that should really be the maximum, because people's, the concentration will fade away, and with children you have much less time. You should really do all of this in half an hour.
So what do you look for?
Well, first things I look for are the current level of playing, the motivation of the customer, and the ambition. And that can also be a problem. Some people are really motivated and want to work hard, but people can also have unrealistic expectations or ambitions. Then, of course, you have to look at the nature of the disability, and I'm talking about disability, but for example, I've made lots of adaptations for players who are not really disabled. They couldn't play comfortably on their instruments. So it's, in my opinion, it's the fault of the instrument, not the player. Disability is not always the right word. Sometimes there is a loss of competence in the player. For example, when there is a traumatic injury. And in that case, the player may have to accept a lower level of playing than before. And not everybody is ready to do that. And in that case, you can adapt to all you want, but it will not work. So that's something you must address. Sometimes it's very simple. For example, I have a customer here with a traumatic loss of the part of a finger, and we measured it. I did make a trial because even if it looks simple, I always try out the adaptations with the customers. Then I made an extended G-sharp key, and the customer has been playing happily ever after.
Is it not enough to measure hands and arms of the customer?
No, usually not. A lot of what there is you can't see, so it's what I call the hidden body, and you must be aware of that. Some people are strong, some people are not strong. People have different tendons and bones and muscles. People suffer pain, they have movement limitations, and the only way to find out what these are is by asking for feedback. So it's also important for the customers not to comply too quickly with the solutions you offer. Because once you have adapted an instrument, it's very difficult to adapt it again and again. So it's important to get it right at the first try, and yeah, you must be very critical, both the maker and the customer. Another thing to be aware of is some people will play sitting, some people will play standing up, and some people will do both. And a lot of the adaptation is about holding the instrument, and yeah, you should be aware of that. So the customer can play in the way she wants to play. And then there is the question, must the instrument be supported? And often it must be. If you have very limited hand capability, you need all that hand to operate the keys and the instrument. And there's no way to stop the instrument from falling on the floor, so it must be supported. It's easy to think that if an instrument must be supported, that the more you support it, the better it will be for the customer. I have a recorder, a tenor recorder here with a one-handed playing mechanism built for a customer who had a stroke, and he plays in a wheelchair, and in such a case a full support is meaningful. But generally, the more you support your instrument, the more you fix your instrument, the more you also fix the player in one position. And our bodies are made for moving around constantly. And the more movement you allow in the instrument holding, the less it is supported. So you have these two objectives: support the instrument and allow for body movement, and they are in conflict with each other, and we have to find a balance. The next picture, we have a cornet with a one-leg stand. It's a monopod from the Photoshop, and it completely supports the weight of the instrument and to some extent also the arms of the player, but still she can move around. And as you can see in the photo, it tilts a bit forward, the monopod, and that way she can also exert some pressure on the embouchure, so that which is needed for playing. So if full support is usually from the floor, but you can also support from the body, which often happens, for example, with a strap. And in the next picture is a strap with a sort of a hook on the bottom that are made for someone playing on a flute with a vertical flute head joint. You see, it's an improvised version. This is during the consultation session. Also, during consultation is the next photo of someone playing a bass flute, and which is supported from her leg. You can also sometimes support from a chair, and sometimes you have to fix the support to a wheelchair. That can all happen, and we should be prepared for that. But generally, one has to be aware of supporting the instrument is often necessary, but too much is not good.
What can each finger or hand do?
Fingers and hands on the instruments, they have two functions basically. One is to hold and balance the instrument, and the other one is to close or open finger holes and to operate key systems. And the capabilities can be very unevenly distributed among the fingers, especially when people had brain injury or spasticity, stuff like that. So here we have a girl who has a perfectly working left hand, and the right hand has a problem not only in actual mobility of the fingers, but also in motor function. So I gave I think it was the F hole to her right hand pinky finger, and I gave the other holes on the bottom to her right hand. And I think there's also a key on the back of the flute. And with this adaptation, she can play recorder like all other kids. And some hands are extremely different from what we are used to, and their motor functions are also very different, shown on the next photos. Also a birth defect, and she wanted to play the flute, and she plays the flute after it's adapted for her needs. And you can see on the photographs there is plenty of me gluing pieces to the flute going on.
At the instrument side we have the keys. What are their possible functions?
There's keys on the instruments do many things. Here a saxophone is, I think it's a good demonstration. Some of these holes are way too big for our fingers to cover. So we use the key to close the key to close the holes. But we can also use a key, as a second function, to open a hole that's otherwise closed, like we do with the G-sharp key on many of the woodwind instruments. Third function is we can open a remote hole that we cannot reach with our finger. And that's really a thing like you bring the hole to the hand, to the finger. Finally, as a fourth function, we can combine keys and functions. For example, the F, E and D keys on this saxophone will all be able, independently of each other, to close the F-sharp keys. So you're operating four tone holes with 3 fingers. All in all, there's 22 tone holes on that saxophone, which you operate with only 9 fingers. The right thumb being used for holding the instrument. So that gives you an idea of how much you can do with cleverly combining key functions.
How can you improvise keywork modifications?
Easiest way is to add bits of plastic sheet or thin metal, like 0.5 millimeter sheet metal, to existing keys. I usually use a double-sided adhesive tape, like this photo of some pinky keys on the flute, the lower section, and I just made a little drawing on the plastic where I think it was needed, and the customer said this feels right, and I made the modification. likewise on the clarinet in the next photograph. I'll tell you a little trick about the adhesive tape. There's one part of the adhesive tape goes on the plastic, on the metal, and the other one goes on the instrument. And I touch that with my finger. The finger might be a little bit dirty, and I reduce the stickiness of the tape. And that way I can easily remove the tape, because you want to be able to remove everything from the actual instrument. I also use blocks of cork, which are cut in the shape of the instrument, and I glue directly on the instrument or on the key. And it gives a lot of freedom to design shapes. I just cut them in shape and I stick them on. Sometimes there are no keys present on the instrument. And on the place where we think we need keys, what I do is I tape cardboard over the finger holes. And the reason I do that is to stop the customer from looking where the keyholes are, because their positions are not relevant anymore, because the keys will come where their fingers are, and we're looking for the optimal finger positions and not for the existing hole position. So I tape over them. Works rather well, and you can just with a felt tip pen or a pencil write on that cardboard, and you have the right positions. And at this point, I must stress, you must try it out with the customer, whatever solution you have invented right now. Even if you have to use a garden hose, kids' toys, anything goes. This is the moment to find out if your solution will work or not.
Can you use photos in adaptation design?
Yes and no. I always make photos during a consultation session as a form of note-taking. That works well, it's good, but not always. You cannot assess properly a finger position from a photo. So customer will send you a photo of their hand and say, can you make an adaptation for that? And the answer is no. Because a finger floating in the air is very different from a finger touching a key. So if you only have a photo, please don't. It's trap, don't go for it. Better, if you must, and the customer cannot come to your workplace, make a dummy adaptation, stick it on, try it out, and send it to the customer, and let the customer send it back. That way you can arrive at a working modification, but not without the customer actually trying it out.
Are you using the final instrument that the adaptation will be built on?
Often, but not always. Sometimes people will bring their old instrument. Sometimes I have an old instrument to try things out. And sometimes, even without an instrument. I had this customer in Canada, and I live in Amsterdam, and I sent her dummy flutes that are cut out of a piece of wood with fake keys attached to it, and I said, you can do whatever you want with these. You can move the keys, you can make notes on the wood, you can make your own things on it, and send me the results or the photos, and I can make an adaptation from that. That time it didn't work, but I've used the same process with a customer in Iceland, and she's been playing very happily on that. After thoroughly modifying my proposal on a piece of wood.
What tools and materials do you need for such a consultation?
Important, of course, instruments or dummy instruments, cardboard, thin plywood, plastic, like old credit card type plastics or CDs. Cork blocks, and I use these, you can use wine corks or these square sanding blocks that you can buy at a hardware store. And of course, double-sided tape. You also need measuring tools to measure everything up. Angle measuring tools, camera used for rulers, vernier calipers, tape rulers. Are they on the photo? Yeah, I think they're all on the photograph. Also very useful, I don't think I have a photo of it, are all sorts of stands, just ordinary music stand, microphone stand. A cymbal stand is very useful for when you need some really solid support. And microphone stand, did I already say that? A microphone stand and a monopod and perhaps a tripod from the camera store. As tools, was of course the trusty old glue gun to stick anything together, felt tip pen, scissors, shears, a file for rounding up sharp corners, because if you make dummy keys, even if they're just cut out of a piece of plastic or metal, they still have to feel good, and they must have rounded edges. Especially for making supports, some woodwork tools are very good. I make a lot of use of a small bandsaw of the Proxon brand, and this allows me to make all sorts of instrument supports.
Are you using a 3D printer?
Yes, I do, extensively, but not during the consultation session, because it's too slow. If you have to wait like 20 minutes or half an hour for each little incremental change, then it takes too long. But for example, I've made some dummy key touch pieces that I can just attach to instruments, like I do here on the C sharp key of a flute. And it ended up in being a small but successful adaptation. And then of course I make lots of hand supports that are 3D print. So for the adaptation I use a lot of 3D prints. During the consultation it's not very useful.
How do you know the design is right for the customer?
Well, you don't know yourself. You have no way of looking in the body and the feelings of the customer. So the only way you know is through the feedback you get from the customers. And some people are very cooperative, too cooperative. So they will say, "Oh yes, this is nice." For example, someone may say, "Oh yes, I can reach that key," but it's not enough. It's not good enough. One little trick I use to see if the keys are in the right position is I ask the customer to pretend they're playing. Of course, it's not really working yet, the instrument, it's just blocks of wood and plastic. But I ask them to pretend that they play really fast on the keys. And that way you can assess if the fingers will land on the most relaxed positions for the fingers. Also, it's important for support solutions that the customer can do this for a prolonged period of time. So take some time to test that out. If it starts feeling bad after 5 minutes, you really need to do some work. And if you see doubt with the customer, even if it's not explicit, but if it shows somehow, you must address that and see where the doubt is, where people are not feeling comfortable, until you find the right spot. And if you hit that sweet spot, you will also see it with the customer. It usually shows in the form of a big smile. And sometimes expectations or ambitions cannot be met. Sometimes people are unrealistic of what you can do. And it's important to be honest at this spot and tell them, look, what you want from me, I cannot make for you. So that's it really. Before you accept the job, you must know the design will work for your customer, and the customers must also know the design is going to work.
What happens after consultation?
After the consultation, you put together all your notes, all your photographs, and you make a sketch design of what it will look like, what needs to be done to the instrument, and of course what the cost will be. Based on that, you make a quote, you send the customer, and after that you will actually realize the adapted instrument. That is what the next videos are about. So I would like to round off, say, this video about the consultation. If you have any questions, please email me or put them in the comments. Thank you very much for watching so far. It's been a long video. And bye bye.